Okay, nearly ready to start. Going to speaker view. We're already on record. And we're already on YouTube. So we'll see our participants as they come on. Good morning to those of you who are already with us. We will be starting shortly on our MVB water webinar. Welcome to you wherever you are. And we have got some good news for a change for you. So to my speakers and panelists, please make sure you're muted when you're not speaking. And of course, make sure we can see you when you are speaking, and make sure your screen share is ready if you are going to make a presentation. For some reason, I've got Didier on screen at the moment, which I don't know why that's happening. Okay.
No, it's you. Mine is you.
Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to everybody. We will be starting our water webinar shortly. I'm going to leave it for a couple of minutes just to get our participant level up a little bit from where we are. And we're looking forward to seeing you all. And I hope that even in these difficult COVID times, you are all safe and well. And no doubt many of you, as a lot of us are, sitting at home rather than in the office during this much more difficult time of transmission of the Delta variant, which everyone is most concerned about at the moment. We have 4 expert panelists who are going to be presenting, 4 expert speakers are going to be presenting, and then 3 expert panelists who are going to be commenting. So we've got some very interesting propositions to come forward today. So I hope that you will stay with us. Anyone who wants to have any questions asked, of course, please go to the Q&A on your Zoom screen and stick your questions in. We'll try and get people to answer them as they turn up, but we are obviously limited in time. We want our presentations to be as quick and as efficient as possible, and we will turn to the questions after we've done our speakers and then our panelists. So stay with us. And we're going to give it one more minute before we get started. Please use the chat function as well if you want to leave messages to anybody. And I think the chat will be open to all our attendees, whether we can see them or not. Certainly the Q&A is open to anybody. Okay, in interests of efficiency and timeliness, we've got 40 participants now, so I know there will be more coming on board as people begin to get themselves organized, but let us start off with a quick introduction from me and then on to a quick introduction of our speakers and panelists. MVB is a sustainability advocacy. We've been working for 5 years, 6 probably by now, on trying to get people to focus on sustainability, workable sustainability solutions. We've done that by hosting a bunch of seminars, by having workshops, by having our experts coming in direct contact with our members and giving them advice as to how to make things better. It's a long process, and a lot of people have a lot of experts working on sustainability. But one of the areas that we discovered really works well when you have expert advice is water. Now, water is one of the most important elements to the whole preservation of life on Earth, but water is a finite element as well. One of the things that most people don't realize, this is where we've run into a problem. Here we are in Java in Indonesia, where water seems to be plentiful. We are flooded once or twice a year. We think water is everywhere. We see rivers flowing. When I arrived in Jakarta, the water table was about 10 meters below the surface. It's now about 100 meters below the surface. So our water table, the water in which Jakarta has lived for the last 40 years, has virtually gone. Now, with that comes subsidence, it comes collapse, and of course, it comes pollution as the seawater comes in. Most of the industries that were set up around Jakarta set up on river banks as well, and they thought, likewise, water was free. It's a wonderful thing. You just stick a pipe in your local river and pump it up, and you've got free water, just with a bit of electricity. That's no longer true as well, as many of the textile industries have found out that the river that used to be 6 meters deep is now only 1.5 meters deep and full of mud and chemicals. We've got problems, problems which can be solved through conservation, management, and really good, efficient practices. How do you get those practices? Well, you have to find out what the problems are. So for this webinar, we asked our 3 known private sector solution finders to tell us how they found their challenges, how they identified the problems, then how they put them right. Very important as we're watching things to know that there are solutions, and that's why we've invited you to be here today. There are solutions. And the solutions come with expert advice and with good practices. And very few people have done enough about it. But the 3 main companies that we have presenting today are people who have identified and solved their main problems. No, it's a never-ending battle in water or air pollution or energy or waste. It's not going to go away with the first solution. One of the industries which is so often vilified and taken apart and made the evil one, while we still depend on it, is the whole commercial water industry. And the leader of that is, of course, Danone Aqua. And what they've done is identify all of the ways in which they have to address their whole development, and their corporate social responsibility, their environmental awareness, the way in which they manage their water, so that it gets to you safely and doesn't damage the environment or the communities. So our first presenter is going to be Ibu Rati Anggraini from Danone Aqua, who's going to tell us about the solutions that she has, her company has found. We're then going to move on to a really innovative practice, which has just taken place in a hotel here in Jakarta. And we're going to ask Shane Edwards from Mercure Convention Center to talk to us about what they have done in creating a fully integrated, absolutely no groundwater, no deliveries water system within their hotel. Then we're going to move on to Aji Sudarmaji from Fiskars. You probably know the name Royal Doulton. They are a major manufacturer of ceramics and use a lot of water in their processes. And we're going to get him to tell us about finding their challenges and solving them as well. Lastly, we're going to, on the speaker side, we're going to move on to Jakarta City, who, of course, in one of the most challenging environments for any city in the world is Jakarta's challenge. And Ibu Ernie Pelita Fitra Tunisa has come to tell us of how Jakarta City has identified and is trying to solve their problems about water. Now, I think the first three have solutions. I don't think Jakarta's got there yet, but I think the fact that we've got somebody who's telling us what they're trying to do is wonderful. We've also got three expert panelists with us as well. We've got Didier Perez, who's going to be commenting on that. And he is one of the experts behind the successes in the Mercure Convention Center and in Fiskars. And we're going to have a more detailed introduction of him later. We also have Fani Weda Huditama, who is the director of Global Water Partnership, which is looking at ensuring water security in regions. So that's very important. And hopefully we'll be joined by somebody from the governor's office in Bali, because they're taking this problem very seriously. I'm going to ask Ibu, where is she? Ibu Rati. Ibu Rati, are you ready to give us your first presentation and tell us exactly what you're going to explain to us? I'm going to pass over now to Ibu Rati. She's going to present the way in which Danone Aqua have addressed their problems on a pretty holistic way. Over to you, Ibu Rati.
All right, thank you, Pak Alistair, for the opportunity. And please allow me to share my screen just to give you some visual to make it easier. Okay, so can you see my slides?
Yes, we can. You could probably
Okay.
go to a full screen on that, Ibu Rati.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
Not yet. We're still showing all the taskbars and things. It doesn't matter.
Sorry. Let me reshare then. Apologize. Apparently I'm not that tech savvy. Can you see it already?
Well, we can see it. Yeah, it's okay. Let's just go with that. Okay, please carry on.
Sorry, it's not the share screen. Yeah.
It was share screen. It's okay to do what you just did. That's fine.
I hope now better.
You got it. Well done.
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity once again to MVB and also to you, Pak Alistair. I think it's a good opportunity for all of us here to share some of the best practice and definitely also challenge, and hopefully also to do some kind of call to action where we can do a collaboration in the future, where we can do the water preservation for basically to sustain our future. So I will start with the vision that we have already. Actually, as a donor, we completely aware that basically the planet and the health of the human being are all interconnected. So the destruction happening to the planet, it means it's going to give a risk to the sustainability or to the continuation of the human life. So this is something that we cannot neglect and just focusing, for example, only on the commercial aspect of our business. And we all know what happened in Indonesia so far. I think everybody aware, for example, from the study being carried out by the LIPI, the National Research Institute, that basically even in Java, we're going to experience a water deficit by 2040. and then also water crisis that already happening in Bali. And we do really want to take part to tackle these causes. So going back to there, we already defined some of the strategy from Danone side on how we can actually contribute to the sustainability of the water resource that basically important not only to the business but also to the life of our to the life of the human being. So in the 3 pillars of our water policy, we already focusing on the first one is the preservation of the water resource, and this one is focusing on the value chain where we are actually operating. The first one is the agriculture, and then the second one is on the watershed, which is focusing more on the preservation and also the restoration of the watershed. And then the second pillar is actually focusing on the water circularity. So this is how we are going to focus on the 3R, for example, the reduce, reuse, and then recycle of water coming from our production, and also on the second life of the wastewater actually, also coming from the production. And then the third one is also how we can bring benefit to the vulnerable communities in our surrounding by also providing safe drinking water to them. So this is the 3 pillars where we are referring to, and hopefully then we can contribute to tackle all those challenges in water issue today by doing several initiatives. So first of all, I think in Indonesia itself, how we translate the water policy is that we are defining our ambition as being a positive water impact by 2030 in every watershed that we are operating. So this is quite ambitious at the moment because the target itself is also big. So the positive water impact itself means that we're going to return the water to the ecosystem bigger than what we are using. So in that sense, of course, you may all know that actually because we are a bottled water company, then we need to really giving a lot of benefit to the environment and to the society for us to be able to, let's say, offset the water that we already use. So, but then I'm going to share also about the approach that we are using. So how we see the water preservation itself is that we are looking at it on the watershed scale. So we cannot only focus on the location where we're actually doing the business, but also at the watershed level. Because at the end, the water in the watershed level is all interconnected one to another from the upstream, midstream, and the downstream. So we are doing the assessment, we are doing the scientific based study to know actually how the hydrology, and then also the social problem happening in the area. So eventually we can approach a solution that relevant to the environmental and social problem related to water in that area. So this is just an example that what we are doing in Kebon Candi. This is how we are mapping the location. And then this one, the bottom part, is how we are designing the project that addressing the water-related issues in the location. So this is what we do in Klaten, which is in the Central Java. Basically, in terms of the watershed preservation and restoration, so there are some key activities that we already do. For example, we do definitely tree plantation, and then also we build some trenches, and then water ponds, and then rainwater harvesting, and then also lastly, because we want to also tackle the waste, the plastic waste issue, because eventually it's also going to be giving a risk to the water quality in our watershed. We have already innovate with what we call as the bijak berplastik recharge well. So this recharge well down here is made from the low value plastic that is basically because it's low value, it has no economical value. So usually it just goes to the water body, and then eventually brought up to the sea, and then there's a risk that it will also polluting and giving a risk to all the animal habitats in that sea. So what we are doing is that we are collecting those low value plastic, and then we change it into here the recharge well that eventually also going to be used for us to infiltrate more water in the community especially. And then also we already work with some partners like, for example, Jejakin to improve or to develop a digital monitoring. So we can really ensure that all the initiative that we've been doing, especially on the water conservation, is monitor closely, and then we can immediately take action whenever we see that it doesn't work as planned. For example, the tree is having a pest attack, for example, then we can immediately replace, and then also adding more trees, etc. And then the next one is also on the agriculture part, because actually near in our factory is mostly our paddy fields. So what we are doing is that we introduce the sustainable agriculture project where we can help them to use the water more efficiently, and also less chemical pesticide, and also for example to combat the pests. So we can have a more environmentally friendly, how do you call, chemical, but not really chemical, to be able to help the water quality in that area is not contaminated. Another point is that what we're doing inside. So if we go that one, we go upstream, and then we go to, midstream. On the midstream, especially in the area or in the factory or facility that we are operating, we already introduced some of the initiative, and like for example, we have an annual target for total water usage, where actually we've been highly efficient, especially compared to the other bottled water company at the national and also global level. And here you can see that actually to produce 1 liter of water, we only need 1.151 liter water as well. So here is the target for 2021. Actually, if the other bottled water, it's around 1.3. So this is already highly efficient, but we will continue to set more higher reduction target, so we can definitely reduce the use of fresh water. Another point is that we also maximize the technology regeneration. For example, here we are moving from the conventional filler to the volumetric filler to ensure there is no overflowing capacity in the jugs. And then also, for example, we change the nozzle so there is no splashing, water splashing. That's also going to reduce water that going into wastewater. And then also we do maximize the 3R approach, for example, where we saving this overflow and then put it into a giant tank and use it as additional capacity. We also introduce what we call detergent recycling, so we can have later on wastewater that can be used, for example, for agriculture purpose, that going through to the irrigation channel, for example. And then also we are trying now at the moment developing what initiative called circularity in, where actually we can use the wastewater coming from the wastewater treatment plant for the use for water use in our production facility. So this is some of the example of what we are doing. And then also this is the rainwater harvesting that being installed in our factories, because we want to again reduce the use of fresh water, especially for general usage and utility. And then the last one, going back to the water policy, we have what the water access program that we are giving to the vulnerable communities, both surrounding and also area where actually has a huge need on water access. So so far we have built the partnership across 21 districts and then benefiting more than 360,000 people, and we keep continue to do so. And also we have what we call as the Wells for Work initiative. So this is to ensure that our employees also have a decent access on water, sanitation and hygiene facilities within the working area. And then lastly, to ensure that we will be able to achieve the positive water impact ambition in a credible way, we also do a measurement on the water impact itself, following the volumetric water benefit accounting that being established by the Quantis and then other global organization. And this is the illustration of the waterfall. So we are trying to return the water as much or even more than what we already use through different initiatives. Then this is the how we are going to approach that. And then lastly, again, as you mentioned, doing it alone will give no significant impact. We will going nowhere. But if we can do this in a collaboratively way, and then also we can also gather more water users to also do exactly the same or even more through different initiatives like the establishment of watershed forums, and then also introduce the payment for environmental services, where actually all water users can also conserve water through different way. So hopefully we will bring a significant and broader impact in the watershed. And also maybe later Mas Wani will also from the Global Water Partnership will also mention. But together we already established Indonesia Water Coalition early this year. I think it's a good opportunity also to introduce coalition, and hopefully we can have more entities joining. But in this Indonesia Water Coalition, basically we want to support the civil society and government so we can be having water security and sustainability in water resource. So I think this is a good platform for all of us to really advocate and then also promote collective action. And hopefully we can bring the impact not only within the watershed, but also at the national level. So this is where we are today. It's just a glance of our achievement, and definitely it may not enough, but we will continue to do more. So I hope I'm fast enough and quick enough. So again, it will not be it will be nothing basically if we're doing it alone, and we need to do it all together, because at the end water is life, and it takes everyone's contribution to be able to fight for water and also sustain the water that we use for daily life. That's all. Thank you.
Ibu Rati, that was amazing. First of all, the speed, the fact that you know your subject so well. Now, what you've just done is exactly what we wanted to hear. Look, you are a big industry. You are the water leader in commercial water in Indonesia. You have been for many years. People want you to be moral, ethical, efficient, and sustainable. They want you to be, because if you can't believe the known aqua, who can you believe? And that's what you've just done. You've shown us the ways in which you do it. And I'm sure most of the people who are listening to this today are not able, did not know about all of the different things that you've been doing, your watershed preservation, the trees, the trenches, and especially I like the Water Coalition, where you're bringing people together to do it, because as you say, doing it alone. We will come back to Pak Fani later on and ask him about how the partnership works, because he's part of that as well. But in the meantime, that was great. Anyone who's got any questions? And look, one of the things that we have to always be ready for are people who have got difficult questions, right? Because difficult questions are where we find out where people have either misperceptions or we're not doing things correctly, right? Now, under, we're not in the position of criticizing, we're in a position of asking questions, right? To make sure that we really understand. So anybody who's got a question for Ibu Rati, please put it down on preferably on the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, and we'll ask her to answer those later. But well done, and thank you. And I think that we know that's your viewpoint, so that's the company line, but it really is an impressive list of things that you've done, and thank you very much for joining us. Our next presenter, we're going to go straight on to Shane Edwards, who's been a bit of a fighter as well in the whole water scene. Shane is the general manager of Mercure Convention Center, quite a long-standing hotel. It used to be the Horizon, for those who go back that far, a metropolitan group development back in the Jaya Ancol initial stages. So it's probably quite an old property. He's been working in Accor hotels for a number of years, and is speaking to us now from Australia, where he is COVID isolated or whatever has happened to him. But over the last year, he's been working together with PPAP, several years working together with PPAP and Didier to try to find solutions to the water challenges that hotels have. Now, I think that they've found them, but we're going to pass over to Shane to talk about what the challenges are, how we identified them, and what the solutions are, and whether he's happy with them now. Shane, are you ready to tell us about water
ready to go
in Ancho, which probably doesn't have any water anymore because it's so far north?
We have a lot of water. Thanks, Alistair. I think the concern is when they talk about Jakarta sinking, we're probably going to be the first to go. So for us, it's extremely important that preservation of water is important to the hotel and obviously the rest of Jakarta. Being a Mercure, so we're part of a larger company, so we're part of Accor Hotels. And part of that, we, as a global company, we have commitments to sustainability, and water is one of them. Part of that is that every month we have to report back to Paris on how much water usage that we have, and we have goals in place to reduce that as much as we can. So globally, we're committed to reducing water. For me, I've been at this property for 2 years now. Excitingly enough, before I got there's a lot of work that had already been done. And I suppose the first thing that the hotel did, and we like to refer to it as a classic hotel rather than an old hotel. So as a classic hotel, obviously there's a lot of piping and infrastructure that's been there for a long time. I guess the biggest commitment we made was partnering with a consultant, which is Didier, who's joining us today, and PT Pipa. So they, to make that commitment is probably your first step, or one of your first steps. So we work with them, and then over a 4-month period, we were collecting data, reviewing, measuring, and just understanding how our water works. And being in hotels for a long time, we sometimes we don't spend enough time understanding how our hotels work, how our piping works, and how water gets from A to B. One of the biggest things we did was so I'm reading some notes because this goes back about 8 or 9 years. So a lot of this hard work was done before I got there. Was our STP. So it was upgrading and organizing our STP so that the cycled water that comes off can be treated properly. And to be treated properly, so that way the water can then be reused back into the hotel. And when I say reused, either in irrigation or refilling our toilets, our grey water, so that way we're not taking water from anywhere else. We're just returning the water back into the hotel and running that circular motion through the property. So that was a significant savings and a significant difference. Along with that, there are a number of other things that we were able to do. So identify significant leaks, but also adding metering throughout the hotel. So that way we can record and understand what water we're using and are we using too much in a certain area. And then from that analysis and working with Didier and his team to understand how we can reduce that or come up with alternative measures to not use water at all. So that was a big part of what we were able to do. Excessive leakage. So again, being an old hotel, there are pipes that are buried a long way down. So understanding where we think the leakages are. We have for example, we have a fairly large fish pond, and it always leaked. And without having to dig up the fish pond, and no owner wants to spend a lot of money just finding a little bit of leak, a small leaks. However, there are steps we can put in place by isolating that fish pond, and then slowly identifying where we think we're going to lose the water. So that was a big key. And I suppose one thing I did notice when joining the MCC team was water's in everyone's blood. It wasn't just the GM or managers who are telling people what to do. It was actually all our front line. So to have buy-in from all our team was really important. And straight away, even in the first probably month or so, there was discussions about water. Everything was about water. So it's really important to put that in place with our staff. And then take our guests on that same journey as well. You know, we know Jakarta floods every year, and I like I said, I've only been there for 2 years, but in that 2 years, you know, I've seen a lot of flooding and devastation. Certainly with a lot of my team, you know, who have to come and stay with us because their houses have been flooded. So, you know, there's a lot of work that we need to do to protect the water that we do have, and obviously, like I said at the start, stop Jakarta sinking. So those are probably some of the key levels. I suppose that many of those changes that we did resulted in the hotel being able to turn off its deep well. So reducing our water from taking it from the deep well and other areas, and keeping it within the property. I suppose that when we talk about financials, and while it's the environment, we're able to see a 51% saving in water usage, and increased water recycling from the STP up to about 71%. Which is a massive saving for us. So a lot of those things we were able to do, I suppose, up until my arrival. And then with every GM starting, you know, part of our handover is to talk about what we've done in the past and come up with action plans of what we're going to do in the future. So for me, talking about what we've been able to do in the future, and over the last 2 years. So water harvesting is probably something that we've implemented in the last 12 months. Putting large tanks around the property. We take up a massive space of roof space, so being able to take all that water from the roof and put it into water tanks to a point where we probably need more water tanks because there's during those heavy downpours to be able to harvest that. One thing that we found also by putting in water tanks was actually reduce our flooding to be able to control the flooding. So initially, there's always a short burst of rain, really heavy. So being able to fill our tanks really quickly and then control that water into our irrigation and to be able to get it out and not flood part of the hotel. Over the years, it started to increase a lot. So putting in the infrastructure to be able to reduce that has been quite significant for us. Working with local authorities. So working with government authorities and ANCHOL has been really important for us. You know, they are a key partner for us. And you know, we've been lucky enough to get support from them, also to understand the issues that they have in ANCHOL during that wet time. But also work with them. It's really important to work with government agencies where you can. Sometimes we can get a little bit lost, but and where we're located, and we've been fairly fortunate with ANCHOL and working with them. So working with government agencies is extremely important. Other things, and these are probably some of the other exciting things that we have underway. We are looking at, and I know we have Aqua on the call as well, but we're looking at bottling our own water. This is a pilot project and something that we wanted to trial, so that way we can not only reduce plastic, but seeing ways how we can filtrate our water and put it into bottles for our guests. That's still a pilot project and something that we're currently working on. Other things that we're talking about, and most recently, because we've increased our irrigation by using the water from the STP, is growing our own vegetables. So we take water from that. Recently, the team, especially over COVID, while it's been unusual business to what we used to, but we spend a lot of time working on our sustainability around the hotel. One is by putting in our own gardens, because we have in some respects, an abundance of water, and it's maybe it's a little bit selfish for me to say that, but because we recycle a lot of our water through, and we collect what we can throughout the hotel, and identify where we can collect that water, able to use that treated water to start to grow our own vegetables, our own plants, and set up our own nursery. Other projects that we are reviewing at the moment, and also being able to research fish manure. Water goes through, the plants grow. So that's something we're looking into. We do it in one of our other properties in Singapore, where they have an aquaponic garden on their roof. They grow their own vegetables in the hotel. You only use 5% of what you would use for normal farming. So those sort of practices not only I should say are fairly new in hotels. We have a pilot project that we can review, and that's something that we want to look at continuing on in the future. So yeah, that I guess leads us to all the activities we've been doing. Fortunately enough, in 2018, the hotel was granted the Green Hotel Award in 2018 by all the initiatives that the team at the time were able to do. Over the last two years, we've worked hard to come up with new initiatives. So maybe it's worthwhile we jumping into that again in 2021. While COVID has been quite disruptive everywhere, sustainability-wise, it hasn't been disruptive for us. In fact, it's probably been more of a focus for us, because we see the issues that are coming out from COVID with the environment, and we've taken the time where we have a little bit more time to think and look at what we're doing to do a lot more sustainability work in our hotels. So yeah, very exciting for our team. Our team's 100% into it, and very happy to talk today.
Shane, thank you very much indeed. I wasn't quite expecting the vast range of things that you've been doing with water. I knew about the deep well and I knew about the bottling plant, but you've done a really great example to other hotels, especially the hotels in Bali, who are sitting with the possibility of doing more gardening, more fish ponds, more water harvesting, everything that you need to do. I don't know if, we were a bit late in trying to get the Bali hotels involved in this, because we suddenly realized this actually is very relevant to them. But hopefully those who are listening, I know there are 1 or 2 hoteliers in Bali listening in, I just seen their names, we can spread the word and use the sort of things that you're doing as an example, especially since you're part of the Accor group. Those can be spread through your group very quickly, hopefully. So thank you very much indeed for that. I know that you're very conscious of the fact that Aqua is there and you're doing an Aqua replacement policy. But you know, I come from a country where you turn on your tap in the UK and you get water out of the tap. But you walk to the supermarket and the shelves are still lined with bottled water. Now, I said, this is a phenomenon which is very hard to explain, when you can trust your tap water, but you still buy water. I don't think that Aqua is going to suffer from hotels trying to do their own bottling. I think they've got a massive opportunity to continue their processes. But if we can help them and to see where the market is going, that helps as well. So there still is a partnership there. But thank you very much indeed for that clear explanation. I don't know if there's anything that's going to be available from your practices to let other people see them. Maybe that's something that we can discuss if the aquaponics, the water harvesting and stuff like that. Maybe that's something you can be allowed to share with other people. Thank you very much indeed, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And I remember the old hotel, now a classic hotel, refurbished and redone. And of course, it's in a fantastic place where people want to be in Jaya Ancol, overlooking the sea. a great place to have meetings, conventions, and a holiday. It's staycations must be on the next list for everybody. Thank you very much indeed, Shane. Next, we're going to move on quickly. But before we call in any panelists, we're going to move on and get the presentations done. Our next presentation is coming from a company we've been working with for 3 years now, a highly professional company. The brand names that they produce are world famous. Most people still think of them as being British, but they're no longer British. They are Scandinavian, and they are producing in Indonesia, but they are world brand names, which is marvelous. Down in Tangerang, if I'm not mistaken, Pak Aji, and the factory there continues to improve the way in which it does things through this very clear insight and innovation. And we're going to pass over to Pak Aji Sudarmaji, who has been part of the team looking at all of the problems in Fiskars Doulton for many years. Pak Aji, over to you.
Thank you, Alistair. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I feel honored being here, and would like to share some experience from PT Doulton and some of the also result of our water audit and the way to go. So let me try to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Pak Aji.
Okay.
Can you, yeah, that's it. Click that. Perfect.
Yeah, so PT Doulton is manufacturing ceramic tableware with the brand of Royal Doulton, Royal Albert, Wedgwood, and Waterford. And this is owned by Fiskars Group in Finland. And let me also introduce our group company in Finland about their ambition in sustainability. Yeah. So Fiskars is our group, is established in 1649 and producing consumer goods with covering homes, garden, and outdoor. And if you see on the right hand, where PT Doulton is part of the ceramic tableware. Yeah. And our vision, creating a positive lasting impact in our quality of life, and our mission is for lasting well-being of people and planet. And our values, this is new values that introduced by Fiskars, that creating change, celebrating the everyday, and growing with compassion. And also important things to know that we have ambition to be sustainability leader in our industry by 2030. So it's quite a long way to go, but this is should be start with something more reality. Yeah? And Fiskars also committed to support the United Nations Global Compact, and this is also aligned with, of course, the factory or the company below Fiskars. So PT Doulton, as a part of the Fiskars Group, we are also invited to do some sustainability action in this case. Yeah, and I should thank to Pipa and Didir to assist us in finding the way, because as human being, we have a blind spot, we think that we have done so many things, but when you have independent people to see, to evaluate, so you can find many things and many opportunity to improve. Yeah. And we did the water audit covering utilities water usage, process water usage, water balance, water meter and harvesting, and air conditioning, condensate recovery, and drinking water. And as well as also in my second section, I will present regarding the recommendation regarding utilities, process water, water balance and measurement, and harvesting, aircon, and then drinking water. So first, regarding utility water usage, what we did is the map about water flow chart. By doing this, we can identify better that our utilities is around 38.7 compared to the total utilization. And the methodology we use is quite simple. To check the tap water with a bucket, let's say 1 liter, and then using a stopwatch. So let's say for 1 liter, we need 12 seconds to fill up, and then it can calculate the flow is 5 liters per minute. That's simple. And yeah, this is the example of how we did in some of the tap. This is in canteen. And the things with arrow is that aerators for the tap. Yeah, so simple equipment we can put in the tap, and it will control the flow rate of the water. This is the study. I don't need to go through detail, but from the study, we can have actually a combined aerator with 4 liters per minute, and another type is aerator will give you 2 liters per minute. So from that, we have identified the around 60% we can conserve the utilization of water. This is the graphic combination between the existing, the red, and then the blue is the 4 liters per minute using tap aerator, and the green is 2 liters per minute tap aerator. So we identify also leak. Don't underestimate. If you measure leak, it could end up with 720 liters per day. And as a management, sometimes we don't see the things what happen under the water. So it is important to go deep dive and evaluate, identify what is happening, what is problem, and what the solutions. Second, regarding process water usage, we identify its process, and we can identify also the water pressure not enough, and it will end up with a high consumption of water because of to cleaning we need a high pressure. Yeah. Water balance we identified here, and also for the production process we come from PDAM. We have mapping, and we have also utilities which is come from still deep well and combined with PDAM. This is also give us some insight. And we evaluate our water meter. Sometimes we put not in the right place water meter because the flow, sometimes if you did wrongly, the flow will be turbulent and give some bubble, and resulting the wrong numbers in your water meters. Rain harvesting, we identify also the potential, and this is of course related to the roof or the factory. We identify 24 K square meter for the factory roof. We can also elaborate, yeah. And also the available land surface. This is also important because you know that we need lagoon or anything to as a reservoir for this rainwater. Yeah. This is evaluation from year to year compared to the water intensity, rainwater, and then the potential saving. And this is a comparison between the supply and rainwater. Of course, as a rainwater is seasonal, so there will be a surplus and also deficit. Yeah? And again, it will end up with a balance of rainwater harvesting simulation here. Yeah. Number 6 is we identified aircon condensate. It is potential to reuse because currently we just throw to the gutter. Yeah. And number 7, we identified also that drinking water using a gallon. This is quite challenging in the logistic, that it may have a road congestion, road damage, air pollution, and inefficient distribution. So this is also contribute to CO2, of course. Yeah. Very interesting. And from that audit, and then we come up with a recommendation, what we can do, and then as a conclusion that for utilities, we have potential to reduce faucet water usage by 60 to 80%. Wudu, this is sensitive things, but this is not impossible. This is still possible, yeah. To save water from wudu, because wudu, if you do open the tap water for 1 minute, let's say for wudu, this is quite consume a lot of water, yeah. And leak also should be identified. Processed water, we need also to reduce the leak and use high pressure for cleaning. And water balance, we need to add some water meter, because if you cannot measure, you cannot evaluate. Yeah, so this is important to put the meters on certain points. Yeah, and the table water balance will allow you to detect the missing or the leak. Rain harvesting, this is also interesting. This is can cover 40 to 60% of the water consumption. And of course, this is very environmental friendly because we can recharge our groundwater reserve instead of depleting the resources. Yeah? And aircon condensate water, this is exiting aircon condensate water is potential to reuse and recycle also. Yeah. For drinking water, if you imagine 100-gallon bottle per day is quite a lot. Yeah, this is just to visualize what we have. Yeah, so based on the audit, based on the recommendation, we started to do one project. Yeah, one simple project that we think it can also inspire other. Because if only PT Dalton doing this, I don't think that this has become high impact. But if many companies doing this, I believe that this will be something. And also from the government point of view, this is very challenging and very useful as well. So project number 1 is to reduce the utilities water consumption implementation. Yeah. So we start to identify utilities faucet water saving. Remember that water is really essential for life. Even microorganisms, they need water. Yeah, and we have 2 types of faucets. That one is we can easily put the additional aerator in, and another one we need to replace because of doesn't fit. Yeah. So we identified those all, and then we can also identify the saving from that because of this project. Yeah. This is the measurement from the existing and also the using the tap aerator. So this is just to give you a few how. This is very simple measurement. Yeah, in the left is before, in the right is after. You can see the difference the one push is 1.1 liter before, and after is 1.45 liter. Very huge saving. Yeah, and this is also another example.
One, two, three. One, two, three.
Yeah. In the beginning is 2.2 liter, one push, and after using tap, only 0.6 liter for one push. So this is the chart of old measurement, and then the new measurement with the aerator, and then the saving. It will identify that we can save 21K liter per day, and in terms of cost is 8.5 million per month. This is not about money also, yeah. This is more how to for all industry, if doing the same thing, I think it can conserve the environment, conserve the water. And if you see also in the table, the voodoo also contribute quite a significant number. Yeah? So you can imagine how many bottle of gallon, 21K liters. Yeah, and in terms of project, the return is quite fast, 4.3 months. Yeah, I think this is the easier thing that probably it can inspire other company to do. Yeah, and also important to mention that the mosque is contribute quite a significant amount of water usage. So we approach our mosque committee, DKM, and we hired local ustad, yeah, regarding how the wudu can be approached, yeah, from the Islamic requirement, from the religion, and also from the engineering. By combining those two approach, this is possible, and we did this in our mosque in the factory of PT Dalton. Yeah. So this is, I think, what I can share with you. Thank you for this time. So I will return to Alistair. Thank you.
Aji, thank you very much indeed. What you've just shown us is exactly what we wanted to see. There are a million factories who are doing exactly the same things as you were and saying that's normal. They turn on the tap and it rushes out. That's fine. What's the problem? But you've just illustrated it saves money, but most importantly, it saves water. If you do that a million times, you're really beginning to help the government and the whole country to save water. So congratulations on those very detailed. Now, I like the detail because the devil is in the detail. This shows, you monitor, you find your savings and you implement them. And it really works very well because of that. The attacking the very sensitive problem of wudu is congratulations. I mean, there are literally millions of mosques now and masjids that will benefit from that. It's not against the culture, it is to help the community to understand, and that there are ways of doing things to be sensitive and still to be religious. So congratulations on that. I don't know how we can spread that word to everywhere in Indonesia, because those savings would be very significant. Maybe our next speaker doesn't know about that initiative yet, so maybe she's going to be able to help us to implement that for DKI. I know there's somebody from Bali government that doesn't matter about down in Bali so much about mosques, but maybe there's similar things that we can look at. But Aji, thank you very much. That was practical, straightforward. It can be done for factories. Your factory, whoever has a factory who's listening, look at that and say, am I doing that now? Yeah. Jakarta is one of the biggest challenges on water waste, traffic every day we get these reports which say Jakarta is facing these challenges. Well, we're very sorry that that's the result of the way in which this city has been developed, and the people who are taking up the challenges under the governor, including the biggest challenge of all, the BLH, the Environment and Management Department. Today, the difficult job of telling us how that's going to happen, ini kerjaan yang sangat susah untuk Ibu Erni, sebab dia harus menjelaskan strategi dari DKI. She is going to present in Indonesian, tapi saya kira kebanyakan yang dengar bisa mengerti. Kalau tinggal di Indonesia harus mengerti, untuk semua bule yang dengar sekarang, you have to understand Indonesian. So ini Ibu Erni, we're in your city, kita ada di dalam Jakarta, kebanyakan kita, dan kita tahu tantangan-tantangan. How is Jakarta facing the challenges? Tell us more. Tolong menjelaskan bagaimana strategi untuk air untuk Jakarta. Ibu Erni, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Alistair, for the time for Jakarta province, and thank you for MVB most valued business. Pak Alistair, appreciate for you and your community, and I apologize because I will present in Bahasa. Because this is middle teknis.
Silakan Ibu, with pleasure.
Yeah, I hope you well in this condition. Terima kasih Pak Alistair dan Bapak Ibu sekalian. Perkenankan saya menyampaikan presentasi tentang tantangan dan strategi mencapai keberlanjutan atau water sustainability in Jakarta, atau juga bisa disebut sebagai manajemen pengelolaan air. Lanjut. Nah, kita ketahui, lanjut Wahyu. Nah, ini kondisi tentang Jakarta, profil Jakarta, di mana mudah-mudahan semua sudah mendapat informasi bahwa Jakarta itu luas daratannya sekitar 662,33 km. Kemudian luas lautannya lebih besar, dan Jakarta itu memiliki pesisir yang lebarnya sekitar 32 km dan merupakan muara bagi 13 sungai, 2 saluran atau drain, dan 2 kanal banjir. Ya, memang dibangun untuk menampung curahan hujan yang intensitasnya cukup tinggi. Nah, dilihat dari sisi musim, Jakarta itu memiliki 2 musim, ya, mengalami 2 musim, musim kemarau dan musim hujan. Nah, dilihat dari jumlah penduduk, ada kekhususan untuk DKI Jakarta karena jumlah penduduk di siang hari berbeda dengan jumlah penduduk malam hari. Jadi kalau malam hari itu sekitar 10 juta kurang lebih, dan siang harinya itu bisa sampai mencapai 12 sampai 13 juta. Nah, seperti itu. Kemudian wilayah Jakarta terdiri dari 5 wilayah kota administrasi dan 1 kepulauan seribu. Lanjut. Nah, tantangan di dalam pengelolaan air di Jakarta. Ini yang kami hadapi. Yang pertama adalah kualitas air. Jadi kualitas air ini terdiri dari air sungai, misal, kemudian air tanah, air laut, air situ atau waduk. Kemudian juga tantangan keduanya adalah banjir, ya. Kemudian yang ketiganya itu perubahan iklim, dan yang keempatnya itu masalah water provision. Nah, untuk kualitas air sendiri, jadi kewajiban dari pemerintah Provinsi DKI Jakarta melakukan pemantauan kualitas air. Tadi yang saya sampaikan, ya, air sungai, kemudian air tanah, kemudian air situ waduk, termasuk air laut. itu kami pantau setiap tahun dalam kondisi musim kering, kemudian musim penghujan, dan musim transisi seperti itu. Yang hasilnya pun ini kami lakukan analisa, kemudian disampaikan kepada Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup, dan juga selain hasil pemantauan itu disampaikan data-datanya dan hasil analisanya kepada kementerian, ini juga kami masukkan sebagai dasar perhitungan dalam indeks kualitas air yang masuk dalam indikator indeks kualitas lingkungan hidup seperti itu. Nah, alhamdulillah tren IKA ini meningkat ya. Tren tertingginya itu sekitar IKA tertinggi itu kami capai pada tahun 2020 yaitu sekitar 42,73. Sementara yang terendah itu pada tahun 2016 ya IKA-nya itu mencapai nilai hanya 22,31. Nah, sungai-sungai Jakarta ini sungai-sungai Jakarta itu banyak yang dari luar ya, dari wilayah Jawa Barat maupun Banten. Jadi ini juga akan berpengaruh terhadap kondisi kualitas sungai-sungai tersebut ya. Jadi kalau misalnya kita bisa memberikan gambaran bahwa koli di sungai yang sudah masuk Jakarta itu sekitar 10.000. Sementara sesuai dengan standar baku mutu yang ditetapkan oleh Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup, koli yang masih memenuhi baku mutu adalah hanya 3.000. Jadi bisa dibayangkan ada perlu dilakukan strategi-strategi pengendalian pencemaran sungai, terutama yang diakibatkan oleh koli ini. Jadi kalau bisa diberikan gambaran, status sungai-sungai itu tercemar sedang sampai berat. Sementara waduk itu memiliki kualitas yang lebih buruk, ya, Jakarta Utara dibanding Jakarta Selatan. Kemudian kualitas air di Teluk Jakarta juga tercemar ringan hingga sedang, sementara kualitas air tanah cenderung lebih baik seperti itu. Nah, seperti itu kondisi kualitas airnya. Kemudian untuk banjir, nah untuk banjir Jakarta ini merupakan daerah dataran rendah, ya, yang dikelilingi oleh tadi kondisi-kondisi di mana aliran sungai, ya, yang datang dari hulu kemudian masuk ke hilir. Demikian juga dengan masalah sampah yang terbawa dari badan air tersebut. Nah, dengan kondisi topografi, kondisi fisik daerah Jakarta yang ada di bawah permukaan laut tersebut, maka Jakarta rentan terhadap terjadinya genangan dan rawan banjir. Ya, jadi genangan ini juga bisa diakibatkan oleh semakin banyaknya ya daerah-daerah yang mengalami penurunan muka tanah. Tadi akibat pengambilan air tanah yang tidak terkendali juga bisa disebabkan oleh beban berat bangunan. Nah, dengan curah hujan yang dengan intensitas yang cukup tinggi ya. Contoh 2019 itu sekitar 161,2 ya mm per tahun. Jadi cukup besar dibanding dengan daerah-daerah lain di Jabodetabek. Belum lagi jika misalnya terjadi hujan dengan intensitas tinggi di daerah hulu, dan ini juga yang mengakibatkan semakin banyaknya aliran air yang terbawa baik oleh sungai maupun dari hujan itu sendiri. Nah, kemudian untuk perubahan iklim. Perubahan iklim ini secara faktanya sudah terjadi di Jakarta. Jadi kondisi terutama di daerah pesisir Jakarta yang seringkali mengalami drought, ya. Belum lagi misalnya ada tadi intensitas hujan tinggi baik yang terjadi di Jakarta maupun dari hulu, ya, yang membawa aliran air dengan sampah dan lain sebagainya, itu menambah kerumitan menambah semakin tingginya tingkat kesulitan masyarakat di sekitar pesisir. Nah, jika melihat historical dari curah hujan harian selama 150 tahun, terdapat kecenderungan peningkatan kejadian hujan ekstrim tahunan. Jadi dengan peningkatan probabilitas 2-3% dibanding dengan 100 tahun yang lalu. Ini fakta. Jadi saya selalu memberikan edukasi kepada masyarakat bahwa perubahan iklim ini jadi nyata, fakta terjadi di Jakarta. Jika dulu Indonesia itu hanya mengenal ya 2 musim, musim panas 6 bulan, musim hujan 6 bulan. Sekarang sudah masuk bulan akhir Juni, ya akhir Juni, tapi intensitas hujan masih tinggi. Ya, ini fakta yang banyak sekali pertanyaan yang datang kepada saya. Kenapa masih hujan? Seperti itu. Kemudian sisi lain, kalau tahun lalu sepertinya musim kering itu lebih panjang dari musim basah. Jadi ini juga mengakibatkan kondisi di mana Jakarta kekurangan air. Jadi kekurangan air sehingga pengambilan air itu atau kebutuhan air itu semakin meningkat. Nah, ini kondisi kekeringan ini juga meningkatkan pencemaran udara, kemudian juga otomatis berdampak terhadap kesehatan. Nah, kemudian untuk status indikatif daya dukung dan daya tampung air Provinsi DKI Jakarta, kami menyusun pada tahun 2020 ya dengan basis kinerja jasa lingkungan hidup untuk fungsi penyedia air secara agregat terindikasi telah terlampaui. Jadi Pak Aster dan Bapak Ibu sekalian bisa melihat kondisi penyediaan air di DKI Jakarta. Jadi bisa masuk dalam kategori statusnya sudah terlampaui seperti itu. Walaupun perhitungan itu kami masih menggunakan data debit air dari 5 das yang menyuplai air ke Jakarta, yaitu Ciliwung, Citarum Hilir, Cisadane Hulu Bendung Pasar Baru, Cisadane Hilir Bendung Pasar Baru, kemudian Kepulauan Seribu. Nah, kemudian juga data-data kebutuhan air untuk kegiatan domestik dan ekonomi. Seperti itu. Jadi dengan kondisi tadi 13 sungai yang masih tercemar, kemudian juga kondisi situ waduk yang juga masih dalam kondisi tercemar, maka suplai air bersih untuk Jakarta kini kami peroleh dari 5 das tersebut. Nah, jadi Jakarta ini sangat-sangat tergantung pada zona penyangganya, yaitu Jawa Barat dan Banten untuk memasuk air, sehingga beresiko terhadap kelestarian lingkungan. Nah, namun demikian, Jakarta memiliki berbagai strategi dalam pengendalian pengelolaan air yang dibutuhkan. Jadi kami punya mimpi agar ke depan nanti Jakarta itu memiliki ya sumber air baku, air minum sendiri, seperti itu Pak Aster. Nah, strateginya apa? Strategi yang pertama adalah pengendalian pemanfaatan ruang. Kemudian yang kedua, pengendalian pencemaran lingkungan hidup. Kemudian ada pengalokasian investasi infrastruktur ekologi, pengelolaan sumber daya air secara terpadu, upaya mitigasi bencana, dan penguatan pembangunan non-struktural. Nah, strategi-strategi ini nanti akan diturunkan dalam rencana aksi yang sebenarnya tertuang di dalam dokumen daya dukung dan daya tampung lingkungan yang kami susun 2020 lalu. Nah, harapannya dokumen tersebut nanti akan kami coba sosialisasi dan kami akan dorong menjadi suatu regulasi sehingga rencana aksi ini bisa segera terrealisir dan dilakukan tidak hanya oleh Pemprov DKI Jakarta saja, tapi perlu pelibatan multi stakeholder, termasuk dari daerah-daerah penyangga tadi. Ya, mungkin bisa kita lihat rencana aksi dari masing-masing strategi tadi. Silakan. Nah, ini kita lihat di strategi pertama, ya, pengendalian pemanfaatan ruang. Ada beberapa rencana aksi yang coba kami tuangkan, ya, yang kami peroleh dari hasil discuss dengan para multi stakeholder, yaitu pembatasan izin kegiatan yang bersifat ekstraktif dalam kapasitas besar. Nah, ini nanti akan kita tuangkan di dalam suatu regulasi. Penataan permukiman dan lahan terbangun, kemudian pengendalian alih guna lahan ruang hijau, kemudian perencanaan ruang dan pembangunan terintegrasi dengan kota satelit. Jadi penetapan besaran kualitas air, atau misalnya rencana-rencana target berapa sebenarnya kualitas air yang bisa ditetapkan untuk sungai-sungai yang mengaliri Jakarta. Ini tidak hanya Jakarta sendiri, Pak Esther. Jadi kita perlu juga kesepakatan dengan provinsi lainnya, yaitu Jawa Barat dan Banten. Nah, ini yang saya coba komunikasikan dengan Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup, agar dalam penyusunan rencana pengelolaan dan perlindungan lingkungan, atau yang disebut RPPLH sebagaimana amanah di dalam Undang-Undang 32/2009, itu harus bersama-sama, ya, DKI, Jawa Barat, Banten, gitu. Sehingga tidak hanya DKI sendiri, ya, DKI dengan seluruh stakeholdernya, demikian juga Jawa Barat dan Banten dengan seluruh stakeholdernya. Kemudian penataan dan pengelolaan kawasan hulu hilir berbasis das. Nah, tadi yang saya sampaikan, ya, contoh misalnya dalam pengelolaan sampah. Jadi sudah tidak ada lagi, harus diberikan kebijakan, harus dibuat kebijakan, ya, bagaimana kita mengelola sampah, terutama untuk daerah-daerah yang ada di das masyarakat. Bagaimana masyarakat itu diberikan pemahaman bahwa sungai ini harus kita jaga. Jika semuanya sepakat, DKI, Jawa Barat, Banten, ya, terhadap kualitas sungai, ini bukan tidak mungkin, ya, Jakarta memiliki sumber air baku, ya. Kemudian penataan wilayah bantaran sungai dan cekungan air tanah Jakarta sebagai area konservasi air. Nah, ini sebenarnya kami juga sudah menetapkan ecoregion, Pak. Ecoregion di darat mulai dari selatan sampai dengan ecoregion di daerah perairan. Kemudian strategi kedua, pengendalian pencemaran lingkungan hidup. Ya, kita rencana aksinya mencoba untuk membuat suatu sistem pengelolaan air limbah terpadu. Seperti itu. Jadi air limbah ini sebenarnya masih bisa, ya, dengan menggunakan teknologi tertentu masih bisa kita lakukan recovery, recharge dan lain sebagainya, sehingga masih bisa dimanfaatkan, ya, minimal misalnya untuk cuci mobil atau cuci kendaraan atau bahkan menyiram tanaman jika sudah dilakukan rekayasa teknologi. Kemudian pengendalian pencemaran udara melalui pengembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi. Nah, ini juga salah satu upaya, ya, yang dapat mengeliminir tadi kondisi pengendalian pencemaran lingkungan hidup. Peningkatan fungsi ruang hijau. Jadi ruang terbuka hijau yang ditanami oleh pepohonan itu sebenarnya fungsinya bukan hanya sebagai penyerap polutan, tapi juga dia akan berfungsi dalam penyerapan air di dalam tanah. Dan sistem pengelolaan sampah secara terintegrasi. Nah, ini juga termasuk salah satu aksi yang kita usulkan, ya, bagaimana sampah ini juga bisa terkelola dengan baik dan terintegrasi dengan sistem yang lain serta juga melibatkan multi stakeholder. Nah, untuk strategi ketiga, pengalokasian investasi infrastruktur ekologi, kami mengusulkan untuk dilakukan investasi infrastruktur ekologi dalam lingkup Jakarta. Ya, jadi teknologi-teknologi yang digunakan ini adalah teknologi yang berbasis lingkungan, jadi ramah terhadap lingkungan dan justru mendukung, gitu ya, peningkatan kualitas lingkungan hidup Jakarta. Kemudian investasi infrastruktur ekologis dengan pengelolaan skala regional yang terintegrasi. Nah, ini tadi contoh misalnya dalam pengelolaan sampah. Jadi bagaimana caranya pengelolaan sampah yang dilakukan di DKI Jakarta dengan tingkat kepadatan penduduk yang cukup tinggi adalah melakukan pengelolaan sampah tadi berbasis lingkungan. Ya, dengan misalnya meyakinkan teknologinya itu misal mendapat sertifikasi ramah lingkungan dari lembaga atau kementerian terkait. Kemudian untuk strategi keempat, pengelolaan sumber daya air secara terpadu. Ya, langkah yang akan kami usulkan adalah pengendalian penggunaan air tanah. Ini hal yang sangat penting dan ini yang coba akan kami dorong dalam suatu regulasi. Jadi regulasi yang mengatur pemanfaatan air tanah dan juga memberikan insentif dan disinsentif. Kemudian mendorong peningkatan pelayanan air bersih. Nah, ini juga masih menjadi persoalan Pak Esther ya. Jadi ini yang akan kami upayakan bagaimana pemanfaatan air perpipaan gitu ya, air perpipaan di DKI Jakarta yang memang saat ini masih sangat terbatas. Kemudian pengembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi untuk mencari sumber air alternatif. Nah, itu tadi salah satunya dengan air perpipaan. Kemudian pemeliharaan sungai secara terintegrasi dari hulu ke hilir. Nah, ini Pak, ini tidak bisa hanya oleh Pemprov DKI Jakarta saja, tapi ya harus dikoordinasikan ya dengan pemerintah provinsi yang lain yang menjadi atau yang ada di sekitar Jakarta, itu Banten dan juga Jawa Barat. Nah, kemudian untuk strategi kelima, upaya mitigasi bencana. Apa yang harus dilakukan? Adalah menata ulang pemukiman pada area-area rawan bencana banjir, gempa, dan longsor. Ini suatu PR besar kami, Pak Aster, ya. Jadi termasuk untuk masyarakat-masyarakat yang masih melakukan okupasi di bantaran sungai. Ya, jadi inilah yang menyebabkan bantaran-bantaran itu mengalami penyempitan, ya, karena bantaran-bantaran tersebut diokupasi dan dimanfaatkan oleh penduduk. Belum lagi misalnya buangan-buangan limbah mereka itu langsung ya dilakukan tanpa melalui proses pengolahan ke badan air. Nah, kemudian menerapkan prinsip zero delta untuk mengurangi laju debit air ke badan air. Nah, seperti itu, Pak. Makanya kita lakukan ya aksi-aksi bersama seluruh sektor, bersama seluruh stakeholder. Kemudian strategi keenam, penguatan pembangunan non struktural. Nah, ini Pak, yang tiada henti-hentinya dilakukan oleh Pemprov DKI Jakarta, yaitu mengajak masyarakat. Jadi melakukan edukasi dulu, kemudian mengajak masyarakat agar memiliki awareness terhadap tadi kualitas lingkungan, termasuk air, Pak. Jadi kalau Bapak lihat, misalnya sekarang sudah ada Pak, kesadaran dari masyarakat untuk tidak membuang sampah untuk Jakarta ya Pak. Dari mulai hulunya Jakarta itu di selengseng sawah ya sampai dengan hilir, itu masyarakat sudah mulai punya kepedulian terhadap kondisi fisik sungai, misalnya sudah tidak ada lagi yang buang sampah ke sungai. Jadi mereka yang menegur sesamanya untuk sama-sama menjaga sungai. Tapi kita tidak tahu ya pada saat sudah dibersihkan oleh pemerintah dan masyarakat di Jakarta, tiba-tiba sampahnya masuk lagi, gitu ya, terbawa oleh aliran air dari hulu. Nah, ini poin-poin besar inilah yang masih menjadi PR kami, Pak, untuk terus berkoordinasi dengan pemerintah pusat, ya, agar sama-sama bergerak, ya, sama-sama bergerak. Karena kalau hanya DKI Jakarta yang bergerak, ini tidak akan mungkin tercapai target, ya, target pengendalian pencemaran sungai. Ya, kemudian mendorong gaya hidup ramah lingkungan menjadi budaya daerah. Nah ini Pak, alhamdulillah masyarakat Jakarta sudah mulai paham betapa pentingnya sungai bersih, ya, betapa pentingnya kualitas air yang baik, ya. Karena di beberapa kasus saya menemukan langsung Pak Aster dan Bapak Ibu sekalian di 3 titik Sungai Ciliwung. Saya melihat ada masyarakat yang kulitnya sakit. Ya, saya tanya, kenapa? Sudah berapa lama kondisi seperti ini? Sudah cukup lama. Kenapa? Karena ternyata mereka menggunakan air sungai untuk kebutuhan mereka. Minimal mencuci pakaian. Sungai sudah bersih, Pak Aster. Sungai sudah bersih dari sampah, tapi kita tidak tahu kualitasnya. Nah ini PR besar kita, Pak, untuk sama-sama melakukan pengendalian ya pencemaran sungai dengan berbagai strategi, berbagai aksi yang bisa dilakukan oleh seluruh stakeholder, baik di Jakarta maupun di 2 provinsi lainnya. Itu Pak Aster dan Bapak Ibu sekalian yang bisa saya sampaikan. Kurang lebihnya saya mohon maaf. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much indeed, Ibu Erni. A very comprehensive and swift overview. Sangat baik. Terima kasih banyak. Saya kira ini semua yang dengar sangat tertarik dengan ini. Now, we know this is all still in planning and in progress, but it's nice to see that there is a plan there. We're going to pull in our panelists now. I'm going to start with Didier. Didier, there's been a couple of questions which have come up, which I know you've been looking at on the Q&A, and it's always nice to answer the questions that have been asked so that people feel satisfied. The first one I'd push to you is from Stephen White, if I can. The challenge of infrastructure development is with the private-public partnership. Now, we've had the government's viewpoint, we've had private industry's viewpoint. How do we create that public-private partnership? And of course, as Stephen says, we need to improve rural communities where 65% of Asia lives, so that the attraction of megacities, and this is the problem with Jakarta, it's an attractive megacity. People have been coming here for years, increasing the population and increasing the challenges for poor Ibu Erni, who her team can't cope with 10 million people, never mind 25 million people in Greater Jakarta. So Didier, are you available to tell us any ideas you have for this public-private partnership, or is it just working together rather than formal partnerships? What do you think?
Yeah, okay. That's actually the main issue in our today's webinar, or to promote the partnership, and I'm sure that Pafani will agree with me. The main issue in Indonesia is the communication gap between the private sector and the government. Actually, we have been working for 15 years with the PDM and the government. I was involved in some discussion on water security with Lemanas, and they don't have any idea about the issues that the private sector are facing. We have also been involved in developing CSR tools in the water sector, but actually there is no trust. Not even beyond that. Yesterday, I had some discussion with a guy about water intake. He wanted to develop his own water run harvesting. And I said, why don't you use PDM? He said, I'm not using PDM because they are very bad service. I said, do you have any example? He said, no, but this is what people are saying, actually. So he decided to have his own deep well. So I believe that the main issue is to build some trust, and the trust comes from communication. And today, when you have about 20 stakeholders, water stakeholders, well, the water sector is immediately afraid of what to do, who to contact, and what to say in order not to be penalized. I was very interested with Ibu Erni's presentation on the regulation. The problem is not the regulation. There are plenty of regulation. The problem is the implementation of the regulation. Now, if we want to tackle the problem from a different angle, the idea is to highlight what are the collateral benefits for everybody for this kind of partnership, and starting with determining the true cost of water. How much does it cost to the community, not only to the individual? How much does it cost to have a proper and responsible water usage? And finally, I come back on the several points that were highlighted in the previous presentation. Transparency is absolutely required, and monitoring allows this transparency. It's possible for the tap operator, it's possible to monitor the deep well unauthorized usage, but also, as Ibu Rati said, the water table. So the technology brings an answer to all that. So this will be my answer, Alistair.
Thank you very much, Didier. Let's bring in Fami, and perhaps you can just tell us quickly what the Global Water Partnership does and how that can bring some clarity to this relationship between the public and private sector, and what you're currently doing, what you hope to do in the future.
Yes, thank you, Alistair, and thank you, everybody. So to answer that question, the Global Water Partnership is focused on the facilitation and adoption, facilitation of the adoption and implementation of integrated water resource management. Now, currently we are developing what we call Water Security Open Program. So this is also to answer some of the question in the Q&A box, where this open program actually can help to facilitate all this organization that is contributing something to the water development by registering their action and link it to a certain indicators and target of water security. And we are doing it in 8 countries, including Indonesia. Now, no matter how small your contribution, like what Pak Reza mentioned in the Q&A box, it can be highlighted through this Water Security Open Program. So this is one thing to bring all kind of efforts by the multi-stakeholders to put on the table so everybody can see. Now, if we can see who is doing what, where, and when, it is easier for us to facilitate this discussion. And I really appreciate what MVB has done to bring all the kind of solution that is being done by some of the key stakeholders to be shared with everybody in this kind of forum. So this is something that we really also support, and we would like to also maybe work together, collaborate together with MVB and other stakeholders to see how we can facilitate this, more in the future, Alistair.
Thank you very much. But look, what we're trying to do is encourage, as I said at the beginning, encourage solutions. When you look at the challenges faced by the government of Jakarta and their dependency on regional governments who have their own challenges, it's not fair to say it's their fault because the pollution flows down the rivers from West Java or Banten, or everybody has their own challenges. But we've been talking about the megalopolis or the mega city concept of working together for Jakarta for 10, 20 years, I think, and it still hasn't yet happened. So we do need to encourage a very top level partnership way above our pay grade, with governor to governor sitting down to talk about waste, water, particularly about waste and water, because they're very interlinked and both are crucial to life on Earth. But what we've just heard is that the private sector is doing practical things. Now, when we've got a body like CADIN, I don't know how much monitoring CADIN does of its members in the way in which you qualify for membership. I'm talking at the moment, for example, to the Jakarta Hotels Association about what they do, to the PHRI about what they do. Some associations are trying to bring in rules to say, you can't be a member of our association unless you stick by these rules. Now, maybe that's a way of helping the government to implement rules. But Fanny, what do you think? Is that something that would work for you? Is that you actually work with associations in industries? You can do it within CADIN. They have manufacturing, they have trading, so you could actually go to the manufacturing section and say, look, can you help us to implement these rules? The government have made the rules. You're the overseeing body. Is that something that could work with you?
Yes, Pak Alistair. So thank you for bringing this up. Also, I mentioned about this association also a bit in the question and answer box. So but first, before that, I want to mention several things. First, you mentioned about this is not the only government problem. This is correct. But also, we need to understand that the government sometimes thinks this is their own problem. So that's why we forgot on how that everybody is doing something also at the sideline, right? Not only government is doing something, and that this is proven from what we hear today, that many private sector is doing something innovative. So this need to be strengthened out from both sides, from the government and from the multi-stakeholder perspective. We need to agree that this is our problem together as a whole community. Now, the problem with doing something together is that you need to have an interface where it allows both sides to work together. Now, this engagement mechanism is not in place. Let me give you an example. So we know that the government is now doing something on Citarum, yeah. So last time, I think last year, I facilitated a discussion where there is a huge, big company that would like to help on what the government is doing in Citarum, but they are a bit confused who to engage with. Is it the Ministry of Public Works? Is it the coordinating Ministry of Maritime, or is it a Ministry of Planning? So they don't know who to contact to. So this is a problem that we need to solve, because actually it can be easily put in place, the engagement mechanism. Now, that is the second thing that I want to inform. And then about the association. Now, we know that we cannot do everything together. This is already mentioned several times, even by Ibu Rati also. Now, if we not do everything alone, then we need to have a real structured arrangement on how we are going to do things together. We cannot just say, let's do together. We need to think practically how to do this thing together, what kind of institution has to be there, and so on. Now, with the association, let me get the example from Singapore. The government of Singapore have this program called Water Challenge for the commercial and for the household level. But in order to do this, so the main point is to reduce the consumption of water, so saving water. But in order to do this, there are several things that the company, like the hotel, like the commercial organization, need to do, and that needs technology. And in order to have that technology, then the business sector then agree to form this association of water business, to be able to support all kind of technology that will be helping all this commercial sector and the household level to do what they are aiming to do, to reduce the water. So it is easy to say that we must reduce water, but how is the next question? And that how we can work together with the private sector in form of association on how we can really provide the technology in order to do that. And it has to be, of course, affordable and sustainable technology in terms of operational and maintenance. And in order to do that, this association will be very helpful. And then another example on the association like Kadin and everything, I think it is always very useful to collaborate with this association, because they are representing many voices of the private sector within that association. So one thing to discuss is to have a discussion with this association to see what is it that the challenges that they have, and list that challenges, and then try to see what are the solutions that is available, and then put it on the table so we can do this matchmaking. So like the MVB is doing right now, I think it's very useful. So this association is very important, Pak Alistair and everybody. We need to see more the role of association on how we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Fahmi. I think what I'm looking for is a mechanism that works two ways, and that's where associations help. They speak to their members, but they can also speak to the government, because the government, poor Ibu Ernie, can't speak to 1,000 companies, but she needs to get input, data collected by an association to give her the right feeling. Yeah. Now, I'm going to go to Bali government first, because I've got a point here from Dinas LHK Bali government, which says Danone have a program to preserve water resources, build preservation or restoration plants, but we did not find any activities. the amount of water taken every day from Badung Regency, Tabanan Regency, and Bangli region is not commensurate with conservation activities. Ibu Rati, are you still there? Do you know anything about what's happening in Bali?
Yes. Can you hear my voice?
We can hear your voice, and
All right.
hopefully Ibu Dwi Arbani from Dinas LHK
Bapak.
Bali can hear your voice too.
Yeah, it's Bapak Dwi Arbani actually from
Okay.
District of Environmental Office of Provincial Office. So thank you for the remark and also for raising the concern. So basically, we did several conservation initiatives already in the upstream of the Ayung watershed, actually, where we operate. To be precise, in the Plaga, which is actually the upstream, the recharge area, and then also surrounding our factory. So there are like 3 adoption, and then also we introduced the payment for environmental services through scholarship for the farmers' kids. And then also there are water access initiative that we are providing for the community. But again, I think this has also been presented, and actually not only presented, yeah, but also audited during the proper award. I don't know if you all here aware about the proper award. So proper award is basically the government recognition to the industry, especially on the compliance to the nature and also environmental sustainability standard. So not only within the inside the ring or inside our facility, but also outside the facility, especially that impacting the surrounding environment and also the communities. And actually also the Mambal factory, which is located in Bali, has also been receiving the gold proper. And actually it's only 2 out of our 21 factories across Indonesia that managed to receive the gold proper. And for this particular initiative. But I fully aware that basically maybe we need to expose more and also walk the stakeholders through our initiative and also be more open for collaboration. So basically we all can work hand in hand to tackle this water issue, and then also see how we can replicate what already been started by us, also in their surrounding operation area. Because eventually what we have started will never be enough, never, I believe, to anticipate the water crisis that's coming to our front yard. Yeah, and then also we would like to basically come back to what I mentioned during my presentation before, that we need to collaborate basically to be able to replicate, to scale up, and then also to sustain what we already started. So basically the impact can also continue be felt by the, it's not only the community, but also the environment where we are located.
Ibu Rati, while I've got you on screen, do you have a collaboration with DKI Jakarta as well? Because I don't think you've actually got factories within DKI, have you? But
no,
DKI is a very important place, and when you're only working within the environment around your factories, you may be missing an opportunity to work with Ibu Erni.
Actually, we do work together with the Provinsi Jakarta, ya, Provinsi DKI Jakarta, ya, Bu. But in this sense is actually on the packaging waste topic. But I think eventually, in order to address the water issue, that not only talking about quantity, but also quality, and then also the today's, I think the issue is more into how to stop the pollution of the packaging waste into our water resource as well, including the river and then the sea and etc. We do work closely in that sense to ensure that basically we manage to capture the packaging waste, especially the plastic ones, so it doesn't go into the river. So there are already several initiatives in that sense, where we also actually piloting the river interception machine in Cengkareng Drain, and this is actually a river located in North Jakarta, where we wants to stop the plastic waste from going to the ocean. So that's one of the initiatives that we've already started, aside from many others, like working together in waste collection, also in Central Waste Bank of Jakarta Province.
Okay, I know your praise movement is quite strong as well, and under that, the waste side. It is very interlinked, isn't it? The waste and the water. It's amazingly interlinked. Pak Aji, are you still there? In your Tangerang's not part of the DKI either, and that's where you are located. Do you have a full collaboration with the province of Banten and the municipality of Tangerang? Is that a public-private partnership there?
Yes, Pak Alistair, we did planting mangrove either in Tangerang, in Banten, and in West Java, or even in Central Java. So we were planting mangrove together with the government of Tangerang, especially in Tangerang area. And we did also clean the beach, where we involve a student from elementary school together with the government as an initiative. If you count how many the impact physically, I don't think this is a big impact. But this moral message is to ask other company, other party to take part of this environmental care.
Very good. Very good, Pak Aji. Ibu Ernie has posted a message saying mereka buka untuk kolaborasi. So anybody who's listening, please read on the chat from Ibu Ernie. DKI always welcome to collaboration. So ini kita udah ada pintu buka. So jangan pikir tidak ada kemungkinan untuk kolaborasi. Harus masuk dengan sifatnya positif. Can we work together? What can we do? Ini sangat penting. Shane, while I've got you here, your hotel association, and there's two, it's really the PHRI, the Hotel Owners Association, and Jakarta Hotels Association. Have you worked with the association on any of your initiatives, or are you just working with your own group? Is there a linkage to the association and trying to get an industry-wide movement going on water and indeed waste and other things? Is that something you're aware of?
Probably not at our level, but at a core level, there's probably more. We're more likely to be working with all the associations. I guess a lot of the things we do, we report back to a core, or to our owners. So generally, no individual hotel reports back. We generally go through our regional office. So our core normally works with the associations rather than just each individual hotel.
Are you going to come back to Jakarta and finish off all of your projects?
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. I suppose the good thing about us as a company is we move a lot, certainly as GMs. Generally on a 2-year timeline. So what that actually does, it actually creates initiative and new ideas every time. So I was fortunate to come in 2 years ago, and there's already a lot of work done from a lot of very creative people and a lot of excited people who wanted to move that forward. I feel I'm the stepping stone as the next chapter, and then whoever follows me through will continue on doing exactly what I'm doing. So that's probably the beauty about us as a company, is that we all follow the same initiatives, and we all follow the same, I guess we have the same values and what we want to do. So no matter what GM is in there, these sort of things continue on all the way through.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Shane. Before we wrap up, there's two things I wanted to bring up, one of which is about bamboo. Hannah from Bamboo Verde told us that planting bamboo, which is a very quick growing plant, I mean, we just heard about mangroves, which are very important for coastal regions. Bamboo can increase groundwater retention. Does anyone know anything about this? Is that something that's been happening? Didier, do you know about bamboo's water retention possibilities?
I don't know this organization, but I know, and I agree with it, that there is many benefits. I know that there is an organization in Yogyakarta that are promoting, and they are actually exporting a lot of bamboo overseas, even to Africa. They are exporting bamboo, Indonesian bamboo, while in Indonesia is no more trendy solution, but it's extremely appropriate. And as far as water security and water sustainability is concerned, it's a major asset, definitely.
Ibu Ernie, kalau kita dengar ini bambu sebagai solusi untuk water retention and groundwater increase, mungkin itu salah satu inisiatif yang bisa dikonsiderasi dari DLH Jakarta. Sebab kalau ada tempatnya yang kosong, kalau kita join together kerjasama untuk bamboo planting in areas. Anyway, it's also a visible thing. You can see bamboo growing and you can know that it has a good effect. So that's a lovely initiative from Hannah from Bamboo Verde. Please let's move that forward, and please send your details to Ibu Ernie in DKI, please. Look, we're going to have to call it a day now. We've done 2 hours. It's up to me just to wrap this up and to say, first of all, thank you to our speakers. We have a hotel that's taken great initiatives to save water, preserve their environment, reuse, and given us a great example. We have a huge industry in Danone Aqua who have shown us that they are invisible to our eyes. They're doing a great deal for the environment around their factories and in the community, and even going back up to source water. And the presentation from Ibu Rati was very clear what they're doing. We have another very straightforward industry in Tangerang, with Pak Aji representing a major multinational who have taken great initiatives. And the one thing that I got out of you, Pak Aji, is this eco-masjid. I loved that, the fact that you could have a multi-effect around Indonesia, still allowing people to worship God and to pursue all of their ablutions correctly, but eco-friendly. What a great idea. That's just a fantastic idea. To Ibu Ernie, my goodness, what a challenge you have in Jakarta, probably one of the world's great challenges in waste and water, and you've got both of them in the DLH Jakarta. We are here, all of us are here to help. I would like to have a separate conversation with Pak Fahmi and Didier about how we can bring associations together and look at water association-wide in Jakarta and across Indonesia, see what else we can do to encourage people to work together, share ideas, and work with the government to reduce costs, increase efficiency. So on behalf of MVB, a great well, you know, there's no solutions in these things, but we've brought up the points. We're now facing them. We've got some great solutions today. I'd like to thank all of you on behalf of MVB for being with us today. To all of the people who are listening, do not hesitate to get in contact with me or Didier or any of the speakers that we can come through.
Terima kasih ya.
Terima kasih banyak ke semua, termasuk semua yang nonton hari ini yang partisipasi dari jauh. Thank you so much to all of you, and we wish you a great day. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Message. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Pak Didier, Pak Rati, Pak Shane. Bye-bye, everybody.